Through the light of love, we found a home. Our friendships grow, 'cause we're not alone. Our children safe to follow dreams. Open your eyes, see what I see. Every one of you is a part of me, not just a town, the community. When you come to Verona, you are finally coming home. When you come to Verona, it's a place to call your own, and you learn what it means to be a family. The Avenue.
Hello again. Welcome to the Verona Chamber of Commerce Roundtable. I'm Dr. Tom Malanga, your host, and my co-host again is Doreen Arminio. And our first guest today is Scott Chesney. Scott,
How are you, Tom?
welcome.
Nice to see you, Doreen.
Great to see you.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your story. Basically, there's a lot of people out there who might not know, Verona, kid or whatever, about your story here.
Absolutely. Well, born and bred in Verona.
Okay.
I've lived in Verona for actually the first 24 years of my life. Spent a brief hiatus down in Miami, Florida for about 3.5 years, and then took a couple trips around the world for about 2.5 years and found my way back to Verona. So I'm very excited to be here, but I would never be where I am today had it not been for what Verona had given me, not only as a student growing up, but the experiences as well. So I was that active kid growing up, football, basketball, and
Right.
baseball, and then it was December 28th, 1985, the morning after a high school basketball game for Verona, and I woke up to a numb big toe. Like when your foot falls asleep
Right,
or
right.
part of your body, those pins and needles. 48 hours later, I was paralyzed from my waist down to my toes. No accident, no injury, no trauma. They determined that I had a very rare stroke in my spinal cord.
Blood vessel burst. or
Blood
something
vessel
like that.
burst.
Right.
It's an arterial venous malformation, best described almost
Right.
like as a stroke. And most strokes, as we know, occur in the brain and went down
Right.
and go down. Mine occurred in the spinal cord, and again, I could have
This
got my
was
whole
something you
life.
were probably born with and had, or
They said
maybe
the only way you
developed?
would have known about this
Right.
is if you did an MRI on me at birth.
Right.
Now, MRIs weren't even around when this
Right.
first happened, or they were very new and exploratory.
Right.
Back in 1970, oh, I just gave my age. 1970, when I was born, there was no way you would have determined
Right.
that because I was healthy and everything. Because we asked, did he get an elbow in that game the night before? Was there
Right.
any trauma? It was like a sleeping volcano,
It
and
just-
guess what?
right.
It was my time.
Right.
It was my time.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now, why did you decide? Scott is a motivational speaker, and that's what he's here today. How did you decide to become a motivational speaker?
Well, it was probably back in the mid-'90s is that I started doing some speaking for the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis. And,
Nick Bonacani's son.
Nick Bonacani's son.
Okay.
And so I was, my speeches consisted of talking about the research that was ongoing at the Miami Project, and then I would kind of gradually share my own experiences of living life with paralysis. And then the opportunity came to travel, and then everything just really expanded, and it was more about that journey of self-discovery and then helping people with their own blueprints to life and maximizing their experiences. So I think people will tell you I've been speaking ever since I was in the womb.
Right. Okay.
I ran for class president or school president when I was in the 8th grade at HB
Right.
Whitehorn School, and I haven't stopped since. So it is our greatest fear. I don't know if you're aware of this, is that public speaking is our
Second,
greatest fear.
next to dying.
No,
Okay.
dying is number 2.
Dying's number 2.
Dying's number 2.
Who
Well,
knew? Okay.
guess you know who taught me this?
Yeah.
Basically by his show is Jerry Seinfeld. He
Right.
said the greatest fear in the world is the fear of public speaking.
Yes.
The second greatest fear is the fear of dying.
Right.
He says that tells me if we're at a memorial service, more people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. So I embrace that greatest fear. I love it. And there's not a time, Tom and Doreen, where I'm not nervous.
Right.
And people are like, "You're nervous before you
Yeah,
talk? You've
right.
spoken to millions of people around the world."
Right.
I said, the moment when I'm not nervous
Right.
is the moment I don't do this anymore.
Exactly.
Because I fuel off that adrenaline.
Great.
And the thing is as a performer myself, and Joe and I just spoke about this the other day, the minute you're not nervous to go on stage, you're not giving your all to the audience, you don't care anymore, you shouldn't be up there, and that's it.
But it's energy. So people have this, like, you have to be fearless, and it sounds very admirable and courageous, but it's not natural.
Right.
You know, and I used to tell people is that when you're driving around, there used to be a time where you didn't have GPS.
Right,
So you had
yes.
to make it up as you went along. So I said, picture yourself in like the scariest place ever, late at night.
Right.
And you're lost.
Right.
You don't pull over on the side of the road and say, "Oh, I'm lost." No, your eyes open. You get all scared,
Right.
and you use that fear.
Right.
Women pull over the gas
Fight
station
or
and get
flight.
directions.
Right, yes.
The men are still driving around.
Exactly,
I mean,
right.
but we use it exactly. Fight
Yeah.
or flight.
So how has your disability played a role in your work?
You know what? There are so many challenges on a daily basis that my disability is filled with, but so many that draw parallels to the challenges that we have in our own lives. So it's almost like there are so many things that I can't do in life, but I always say for every one thing I can't do, there's 10,000 things that I still can. And so I really believe a true disability can only reside in one's attitude, and that's a choice. So every morning for the last 30 plus years, I've awakened to a waiting wheelchair. And I'm in my greatest power, my power to choose. And I say to myself, you know what, I can either stay in bed or I can get in that wheelchair. And I feel like getting in that wheelchair, which I haven't missed a day, every day I've gotten in that wheelchair. When I get in that wheelchair, that's half the battle. That's showing up for life. The other part of it is where my choice is going to take me. And so I just realized that, you know what, fortunately, and it may be unfortunately in many ways, but fortunately is that my disability is a reminder as to the challenges that I have in my own life, but also the challenges that we all have in life.
Okay, now you mentioned something about stillness and silence. How does that, I will say one thing, I'm a big Dr. Wayne Dyer guy. Herman Melville once said, God's one and only voice is silence.
Absolutely.
We can't talk to God unless we turn off the phones, the radios, and everything else.
Well, you know what? If you were to ask me before my first trip around the world about stillness and silence, I would have pictured someone, and I say this in all due respect because my wife's from India,
Right.
someone's at the top of the biggest
Right.
mountain in India
Exactly.
and chanting or doing something
Right.
like this. And that came from a place of ignorance.
Right.
But I realize now is that we learn so much about life through life's polar opposite. So my life, even though I'm paralyzed in a wheelchair, still all about movement. I'm constantly on the move. And it's about talking. Look, you can't shut me up now.
No, definitely not, that's for sure.
So what I've realized, and this is where such work has been done on myself, I do for myself so I can do even more for other people. So it's not a selfishness when I do work for myself. It's with the intention of wanting to help and do even more for other people.
Right.
I realize, okay, what's the opposite of movement and speaking and talking? Stillness and silence. And when I embraced that, when I learned about that through my travels, whether it be meditation in India
Right.
or yoga in different places, is that's when I realized, wow, this is where transformation occurs.
Right.
And so it's almost like, how would we know what success was if we didn't know failure? How would we
Exactly,
know what
right.
pain was if we didn't experience
Right.
pleasure night and day? So it's almost like, okay, whatever it is that you feel that you're doing so much of, what's on the other side? How can I immerse myself in it so I can create a balance in my life?
Okay.
So tell us about bridging gaps in our lives. I've heard you mention that before.
Well, whether it be life coaching or whether it be speaking, I'm always in a place I say, you know what, motivation and inspiration is great, but it can be here today and gone tomorrow. It's really up to people in taking action in their lives, hopefully positive action steps. So for me, I feel like I'm a messenger, I'm a facilitator, and I help people bridge gaps. So it's about determining where we are today and where we want to be, and creating that bridge on how to get there. And sometimes they're going to be baby steps, or sometimes they're going to be giant leaps, but almost asking the right questions of my clients. So it's not all about like Scott just giving advice or information or so. It's asking the questions so people within themselves can find those answers and start to build their own bridges.
What I have found, because I've been through chiropractic, been through different, motivational things and so forth, is that when the person's up there, yeah, and then you go home, and it lasts for a while, like a diet, and then, so how do you stop that? Or how do you?
What I think the biggest thing we need to do is remind ourselves what's waiting on the other end.
Right.
Not if, but when I create this change in my life. What's the feeling going to be like?
Right.
Life is so much, and Dr. Wayne Dyer would say this too, is
Right.
feelings, thoughts, actions. He
Right.
would talk about that so much, and he still does in spirit. So it's about, the emotion that we're going to feel when we create this,
Right.
and what it's going to look like. What I loved is that with the Paralympic Games, I loved hearing about the hours and hours of practice that
Right.
went into everybody's competition. But I loved hearing too is that so many of those athletes, talked about the creative visualization, the imagery.
Right.
So Usain Bolt even talked about this,
Right.
is that crossing the finish line and seeing world record time. Now, I know he looks at the audience and
Right,
everything else
yeah.
as well, but seeing himself cross that finish line in world record time and putting on some good music, creating that visual, what's the feeling going to be like when I accomplish that?
Right.
And complementing that with hours and hours of practice. I
Right.
just think it's the perfect recipe for at least going in the right direction
Right.
to creating what you want.
Now, you also, you reach a diverse, all ages and so forth. How are you able to reach such a diverse audience, with your work?
Well, it's all about connection, I
Right.
believe. I started doing parent workshops
Right.
before I was a parent.
Okay.
And I had an audience member saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Chesney, in all due respect, you're not a parent."
Right. But you are a parent now, though.
Well, I am a parent, but
Right.
back then, no, I
Okay.
wasn't a parent.
Right,
So
okay.
it was a great question. And I
Right.
said, you know what? Parenting is kind of like overrating. It's about connecting. Well, I tell people, and we can use Verona as an example. I tell people, you know what? My town of Verona, you have to get a license to go fishing.
Right,
at
right,
Verona
yes,
Park in the lake.
yes, yes.
You have to take out.
To get married, you gotta get a license.
You have to get a license to get married.
Right.
You actually have to fill something out to get a library card to go to the
Right,
library. You have to
exactly.
pass a test
Right.
to actually drive a car.
Right.
Do you know what you need to be a parent?
Yeah, I know.
No.
One night of
No, nothing.
a bottle of vodka.
Nothing. They'll send anybody home with a
And
child.
that's
It's the
right.
scariest thing,
That's
yet
true.
it's one of the
Right.
most
It's-
difficult
yeah.
titles in the world.
I know.
So it's something that I said, you know what? Yes, parenting is so important, but it's about connection.
Right.
And when you can make that connection with someone, and again, I attribute this to getting to know myself so well, where I'm putting myself out there. I was asked by an audience member recently, Scott, if people could use one word to best describe who you are, what would you want that word to be? And I was like, wow, this is powerful. And all of a sudden, I just go into my heart like I do for anything. This is the thing that plays tricks on us. I went into my heart said, real. And I was like, wow, yeah, real. And if the more real I am, the more that I can connect with other people. So, you know what, it could be that old age home that I'm going to and talking to people and connecting with people and helping them transition and deal with maybe a frail body that's not working so well. Or that little kindergarten kid. I was in a library one time, and I had a kindergarten kid who, once I said, I can't feel my legs anymore, he took it upon himself to chop at my shin. And I looked at him, and all of a sudden I went, ow, and he got a little scared, and I reaffirmed it. And anywhere in between, it's about connection. It's knowing full well, Tom and Doreen, I don't see color. I don't see creed.
Right.
I don't see religion. I don't see political agendas. I don't see abilities. I don't see disabilities. I see human beings. We came into this world with one title, and that was human being. And we've added a lot of great titles on top of that, but we're human beings, and I believe we all want to give love and receive love. And if we could see that within each individual, guess what? We will hit. I always tell people we should have a pause button.
Right.
It's one thing, God, whoever we believe in, I want to talk to him or her and say, you know what, why didn't you install a pause button? Because, you know what, it would be great is if before we said something, before we texted something, before we
yeah.
typed something, before we took
Slow
action,
down
Right.
that reaction
in which we
time.
just hit that pause button for 5-10 seconds and just thought about what's the ramifications, what are the consequences
Right.
if I do this.
Right.
And I think so many people, I'm trying to teach a lot of kids these days,
Right.
of just creating that internal pause button. So the point where, we get into our heart and we can determine what's the consequences or what are the benefits. Maybe it's a matter of shutting down and not sharing something that you
Right.
need to share.
And
So
that comes back to stillness also.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Today is October 18th, 2016, and synchronicity plays a large part in my life. And was just talking to Scott that happened to be that Dennis Bird from the Jets had just passed away. And I got to tell you, when I first heard it, car accident, I'm thinking his fault. Guess what? It wasn't his fault. Because you're thinking
Judged.
maybe the disability or
Prejudged
something. And he is an example of someone who did, walk. Now, I don't know the extent of his problems, but, just so ironic that you're here today and he just passed away.
Well, I keep hearing Doreen over there, judgment. No, and it's funny, based on what we were just talking
Sorry.
about. No.
Okay.
That's our mind at work. Our mind right away gets a hold of something, and boom, this is what we want to, well, we don't have to say it necessarily. We can think it. I'll tell my kids all the time, you can think anything you want.
Right.
Anything you want.
Right.
But when they come out in the form of words, actions, or texting, doing whatever,
Right.
that's when you got to be accountable. So when I heard that there was that kind of just what happened, there's that natural what happened. It's
Right.
almost like when you see an accident on the side of the road. And it was just I just right away sent a prayer out from my heart and everything, but I needed to know what happened. And so I have a dear, dear friend. His name's Alan Brown, who's actually in a wheelchair too. He spent significant time, and I said, I know Alan's probably posted something already. And Alan just talked about his experiences with Dennis Bird.
Right.
And the bottom line is that it's unfortunate for both. And I don't know, because there were two teenage kids, a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old, who at the time, I don't know now, were in critical condition. And Dennis Bird is gone now.
Right.
My heart just poured out to him. He's been such an inspiration, not just for people with paralysis, but for people without paralysis. And it's a tremendous loss.
Right.
It's a tremendous loss. But what I will say about loss, so we could be talking about loss in terms of the loss of legs, the loss of life, is that I said, with regards to the loss of life, there's been studies on this that said every 7 seconds in this world, a baby is born. And every 11 seconds in this world, somebody passes away.
Right.
So that's my go-to thing, in which saying, you know, the gift of life
Right.
is still winning this race.
Right.
And I pictured when Dennis passed away and everything, that beautiful, sweet, loving spirit of his just passing that baton to some little baby somewhere in the world, in which was going to embody Dennis's spirit. So it's kind of how I make peace with it. I'll grieve, and there was a part of me that was teary-eyed and so forth, and just missing out on a family, but I try to move to that place of peace and understanding as quickly as possible. So I can't change what's happened. I
Right,
can't.
exactly.
I can't change what's happened.
Only your reaction to that.
Yep.
And just a couple other things before we go, but, well, Dr. Dyer always says, you know, all this stuff we see in the papers, how bad, but every day there's millions of acts of kindness done in the world that we don't even know about. They're all over the world, in Tibet, wherever, that we never even know about. But let me just ask you this, and Dr. Dyer talks about this. He says, you know, you all see me as this great guy, but let me tell you, once in a while I'm home and I lose my keys, and I'm going crazy and nuts, and I can't find it. I'm just like do you ever not want to get in that wheelchair in the morning sometimes?
Absolutely.
Do you ever lose it?
Absolutely.
You do?
You should
Good,
interview
thank
my
God.
family right
Okay.
here. No, but
Right.
that's the balance. And my family
Okay.
will tell you who talks the least at home. It's me.
Right. Okay.
I know it's very hard to believe.
It is. Somebody
here-
talks more than me. Who knew?
One of the things I love sharing with people is, it's huge and it needs to become a must in our lives, is managing our emotions. Now I tell people there's
Yeah.
3 things we can do with our emotions: projection, which is the blame game;
Right.
suppression, keeping it locked up inside; or having a healthy expression. And that healthy expression, whether it be joy and happiness or like intense rage, I mean, all that is natural and needs to be expressed. So I'm always in a place, doesn't always work, especially with the kids and everything
Yeah.
at home, is saying, you know what, whatever it is that you're feeling, go release that energy before you're dumping on someone else, whether
Right.
it's screaming into a pillow. We have a
Right.
punching bag in our garage.
Right.
Sometimes I know it has my face on it.
Yeah.
But it's like exercise, do whatever.
Yeah.
So then come to a place where after you've released all, and that's what it is energy, and you have somewhat of a clear mind, that's when we can communicate. That's when we can have a discussion. We can talk about everything.
Right.
But if you're coming at me with
Right.
all that stuff and everything, and sometimes I'll announce it. It's not easy, but you know what?
Right.
Okay, I'm having a bad day.
That's right.
I am having a bad day.
That's right.
But no, I need to correct that, because Tom and Doreen, is that I made a decision a long time ago. No more bad
No more
days.
bad days.
No more bad days. Only, well, no.
Some days
listen.
are better than
no,
others.
No, but let me.
Well, it's moments.
Challenging
Yeah.
moments. No.
Challenging
challenge. No.
moments.
I have challenging moments. I
Yes,
have moments of
okay.
sadness. There's not a
Right.
day where I don't think what would have been
Right.
if I wasn't in this wheelchair. Moments of anger or rage. But you know what? And you guys are all about this, and Wayne Dyer was all about this, is that there is so much room for gratitude in our lives.
Right.
I talk so many times, and I try with today's youth, but you know what? It's reflective of our parents, and I'm not pointing to blame, is that it's so much of what we want in life rather than what we have.
Right, exactly.
And I think it's okay to want, it's okay to
Yes.
have dreams and
Right.
aspirations, but we lose focus. So I tell people we're either like trapped in the past and what if and what I didn't get done right, or we're too preoccupied with the future, in which, you know, planning
Right.
and doing all that and having intentions,
Right.
that's powerful as well. But really, if you think about it, the only thing we have is this very moment. And in this moment, what am I grateful for? So every single day, my lucky number is 12. I'll start the day no matter what I'm doing, hanging out with you guys, going anywhere. 12 things for which I'm grateful. And I try
Wow.
to mix it up and
Okay.
everything, and sometimes it'll be like the use of my hands, the use of my arms. I go into my heart, I used to write it down. And then on the other side of the day, no matter how challenging the day was or how rewarding the day actually was, I will, before my head hits the pillow, identify 12 things for which I'm grateful for. And you could bet one of those things today is going to be the opportunity to be with you guys today and our wonderful people in Verona.
Okay,
We're really blessed
last
to have
question,
you.
and this might be unfair, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to. I don't know.
Do you know what my mom told me? You can ask anybody any question. It's up to
Right.
that person to say no.
Okay.
So just think of my mom when you think of that.
Okay,
Hi, Mom.
here it
Sounds
is.
interesting.
And I know it's a hypothetical, but if you could go back and God says to you, Scott, I'm going to give you this life, and you're going to travel the world and do all this stuff, or you're going to have your normal life.
First of all, I wrote a story. What is normal?
Right.
I'm still
I'm
wondering
not
what
in a
that word
wheelchair,
is.
like, no.
But
The blood vessel
Your
didn't
current
burst,
life.
and
I can say this.
because the life that you have now, you never would have had these opportunities
No.
unless that happened.
No.
So go ahead.
And I don't say this to be an inspiration. I don't say this to be courageous or to be heroic. I would not trade the last 30-plus years of my life for anything.
Okay.
Do I want to walk again? Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more driven than ever before.
But
But
it's
do
who
I
you
have to
are.
walk again?
You
No.
don't have
My
to.
life is so much more than the physical use of my body that,
Right.
you know what, I just may be in this wheelchair the rest of my life. I'm hoping not. But if I am, I'm just going to have to be the happiest person ever to live life from a wheelchair.
Well, you're
That's one of my goals.
definitely on the path, believe me. So it was fabulous
Well, thank
having
you,
you
Tom.
here.
Thank you so much.
I really
Thank you. Thank you for
appreciate
the
it.
opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you, Doreen.
Scott
Thank you.
Chesney. Now, is there a website
Yes,
that they can go to?
www.scottchesney.com, and on Facebook, on Instagram. Instagram's for the kids too. That's
Yeah.
Chesney12. So
Right.
there's so much into that now,
Motivational
and
speaker. I
Twitter,
mean,
all
I
that.
can't imagine any group that wouldn't want, this young gentleman,
Amazing.
including Holy Spirit Church, but we'll get to that later.
Well, my family might beg to differ. They
Right.
don't want that motivational speaker at home.
Okay.
They retire him at home from time
But they
to
don't
time.
pay you. That's the only problem. Exactly.
Oh, they pay me all
Oh,
right.
they do?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be right back with our next guest. Hello, I'm Dr. Tom Malanga, and welcome back to the Verona Chamber of Commerce Roundtable with my co-host, Doreen Arminio. We are now joined by Father Jerry Rassiopi from Holy Spirit Episcopal Church here in Verona.
Evening, Tom.
Father Jerry,
Great.
welcome.
See you.
And Father Jerry is here to talk about something very exciting. I don't know, Joe, can you maybe get a close-up on this pamphlet, if possible? They had started a food pantry at Holy Spirit Church, okay? And I just actually found, these are in the lobby over here, okay? Which basically tells all about it. Now, how did this food pantry, first of all, time out. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
Okay.
Um,
Verona boy again.
I am, yes. So I grew up here in Verona. I actually had gone to Our Lady of the Lake Grammar School and then to Essex Catholic in East Orange. So I didn't come through the Verona school system, but my family has lived in Verona for many years. My grandmother still lives here, my mom, and many of my aunts. I went off to school up in New Rochelle and worked for Marriott Hotels for about 22 years, and then decided that I would start the priesthood process. And so with the Episcopal Church, I was ordained in June of 2015 and started here at Holy Spirit Verona in May, the month before I was ordained, 2015. So
Okay.
that's how I returned to
Everybody
Verona.
comes back to Verona.
On a
it
personal
seems like, right?
note, I had started going to Holy Spirit Church probably in about 2008 or 9, I guess it was. A friend of mine was involved there, Dominic, and he asked me to come. And they had a pastor there, Lucy, and then she left. And then for 3 years, see, in the Catholic Church, they do things different. The congregation hires the priest. It's like a job search.
So I went through the interview
resume and
process,
everything, and
yep.
they offer him a salary and or whatever. And for 3 years, we couldn't find anybody. But what happened was there was a couple of people that we liked. We offered them the position. They didn't take it. So we're like, going back and forth. But God gives you what you need, not what you want. And he kept saying, hold on, Jerry's coming, just one more year.
I
Hold
was
on.
still in
hold on."
seminary,
He was
finished
still in
with
seminary.
seminary, yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's out, boom. And he's now, back in Verona. And I got to tell you, your ordination at St. Luke's in Montclair, the church is filled, okay? And the bishop, Archbishop, his name is?
Bishop Mark Beckwith.
Okay, kept talking about Father Jerry's coming home again to Verona, okay, because this is where he was born and everything. And I don't know if you could just put into sight and action the word joy. The joy that was in that church that day was palpable. I've never seen such pure joy in my entire life that we finally got somebody after 3 years, and it was someone from the town of Verona. So,
amazing.
And I think
anyway.
the amazing part of that, Tom, is that coming back to Verona has been so powerful, more than I ever could have
Right.
dreamed or imagined, just to be back in my hometown as a priest. So.
Now, how did this food pantry start at the Holy Spirit?
So the congregation actually had been dreaming about the potential of a food pantry for a while,
Right.
and we have what's called an outreach committee. It's a bunch of folks who get together and decide how will we do ministry outside of our four walls, and they had been sort of toying with the idea of a food pantry, but wasn't quite sure how they would do that. And really what changed it was just before I arrived, one of our parishioners, Cardi Mortimer,
Right.
another Verona resident,
Yeah.
he and his family decided to offer a substantial amount of money donated to the church. And with that, we were able to renovate a basement kitchen and provide a dedicated spot
was
for
pretty
the
bad.
food pantry. The kitchen
Oh,
was
yeah.
really
Was
bad.
But now it's like amazing.
Now it's gorgeous.
Granite countertops.
And we've dedicated a section of that to be what is now the food pantry.
Right, okay.
So that really made the difference.
And what role has Mary Gartland played in this? Can you just dwell on it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So Mary Garland is another one of our parishioners, a member of this outreach committee, and she really was the one that shared a story about her own life growing up here in Verona when, due to an illness in her family, she was really unable, her family was unable to get food,
Right.
and they really struggled. And so
Economically,
she
right.
actually wrote a letter, Verona Cedar Grove Times, that got published, and it really sort of showed the reality of how all of us can be very much one paycheck, one job.
Right.
A divorce can happen, an illness, away from not having the right amount of food. And so
Right.
she remembers that as a kid, and she told the congregation that story, and that really is what led the charge to, we need to have a food
She wanted to
pantry.
kind of
Calling
pay it forward, you know,
Exactly.
type of thing.
Exactly.
Now, Verona is a fairly prosperous town. You know, you hear about food pantries in the inner city. So, what made you, do you have a lot of people in Verona that are utilizing this?
It's a great question, and it's a question we probably get asked most often. And what this outreach committee did is they did a fair amount of research before I arrived. I was not involved in much of this, but they worked specifically with Connie Pfeiffer here in the town of
Right.
Verona, and asked her, what are your thoughts, and looked into statistics. And Connie was like, yeah, there is a need. It's that hidden need. And again, it may not be someone who is homeless. I mean, they could have a job, but maybe not enough money to be able to support the family. And so it seemed like there was the need from the research that they were doing, and then I continued once I got there. And so we really weren't sure. We didn't know what to expect. And so we opened April of this year, so we've just been open for about 6 months. And in that time, we've seen we call them shoppers,
Right.
or guests. That number has increased substantially.
Is it all Verona, or is it?
It's not. We actually, the decision was made that we would not turn anyone away. So the only thing, in fact, that we ask people is their zip code, just so that we know where people are coming from.
Right.
And then the other question is how they heard about us, because we'd like to see how people are actually getting word out. So hearing that this brochure is here,
Right.
in the community center doesn't surprise me, because Connie has been hugely supportive. So we get a decent amount of Verona in Cedar Grove. We do need to get the word out, I think, more, because the feeling is there probably are more people that could utilize us. We get a fair amount from Montclair, being a neighboring town, and then really surrounding communities like Caldwell and even a little further out. We mirrored our operation off of St. Agnes and Little Falls,
Right.
and they've been advertising for us. So we've seen some from even like Passaic County.
And you're getting donations from groups. I know it's Hunger. I know the Verona Juniors are doing.
Verona Fights Hunger.
cleansing,
Yeah,
Fights
so
Hunger.
like that week just finished, Verona Fights Hunger, the Verona Juniors added, in the past they've donated all of their stuff to Montclair Humans
Right.
Needs. And so this year they added the Holy Spirit Pantry as well, which has been hugely helpful. We have not, thankfully, had a challenge getting donations, which is wonderful, a problem to have.
Right.
The town has been very supportive, various organizations like, Unico Verona, Verona Swims in the summer, even neighborhood block parties have
Right.
asked people to bring items, and that collection has gone to us. Martin Road did that, and Newman Care. So the donations part has really not been all that challenging. We have a bin outside of
Right,
our parking
church,
lot
right.
that's available 24 hours a day to have people drop things off, and I'm
Okay.
amazed how often there's stuff in there.
Now, the first food pantry there, you had, 12 people, I think
It was
it was?
18, yeah,
18.
in
What did
April.
you have the last one?
So this past month, when we were open in September, we had actually 42 people come
Right,
through.
exactly.
So we started at 18, and it increased little by little.
Right.
And we are open the fourth Saturday of the month. So
Right.
right now, we are open once a month on the fourth Saturday from 9 a.m. until noon.
Oh,
Now, describe the services the food pantry provides.
Yeah, so what happens is in our lower level, we actually take all of the food out of the physical pantry where it's stored and put it out on tables. And as shoppers come in, they register with us, again, only giving us their zip code and how they heard
Right, because
about
I want it
us.
to be anonymous in some way.
We
you know.
really want to
Right.
stress the confidentiality, and it's important to stress that if someone is in need, there is no shame in that.
Right.
But unfortunately, we all carry a lot of shame, and so we want to make sure we stress that confidentiality in hopes that people who do have a need would feel comfortable coming and shopping. And so each person that comes in is given 2 grocery bags. We provide the bags, and so they actually are then brought to the back area where we've got several round tables set up with various items. We do limit food based on the stock we have. So if we have enough cereal, everyone can take 2. If we don't this month, maybe
Right.
everyone takes 1.
And you guys also offer toiletries, which a lot of people
We
don't think
do.
about.
And a lot of that came-
Toothpaste and.
Well, it came from Connie Pfeiffer's,
Right.
sort of explaining the system to us that if someone is on assistance, and again, we don't check that, that's not something we verify, but if someone is on assistance, you cannot use that assistance, what I used to call food stamps,
Right,
it has a
right.
different name these days, you cannot use that for toiletries or laundry detergent.
Right.
So we have really focused on, everyone thinks food pantry, they want to bring soup and they want to bring pasta.
Pasta, right.
We've got enough soup. Actually, rice is not as popular as a donation as you
Okay.
think, but we've got a lot of soup. We've
Yeah,
got a
a lot
lot
of
of pasta.
pasta.
So
Right.
we trying to push toiletries, toothpaste, toothbrushes, laundry detergent, which is hugely expensive, paper towels, toilet
So
paper.
people even bring pet
So-
food sometimes.
Yeah,
too. Because
absolutely.
people have
So,
pets, so.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, anything that is dry or isn't going to expire quickly is stuff. We do not provide any fresh food at this time. We're not set up
Yeah,
for
that's
that.
right.
So.
Yeah. So how has the pantry been received by the whole community?
Very well. I mean, again, I think our job now really is to sort of how do we get the word out even more. We've had absolutely no problem getting volunteers to staff. We ran a open house in March, advertised it to the entire town to see anyone, you don't have to be a member to volunteer here, come and hear about it and learn about it. And we actually had like 35 people show up at that. As typical of Verona, there's never a problem getting
Right.
volunteers. And
Right.
so we continue, we have about 8 to 10 folks on an early shift from 8 to 10 when we're open, and then a little less of a shift, about 6 folks from 10 to 12, and never a problem getting folks to volunteer there.
Now,
which
the
is great.
volunteers, are they only on the once of the month, or are they there for organizing all month? How does that work?
It's a great question. We kind of.
That's a good question.
It is a
I'm
question.
impressed.
Curious, I want to know.
The practicality of it, yeah. Because we don't get all that much food at the same time,
Right,
we
right.
don't often do sorting of food. We tend to just hold it all until Saturday when we're open and ask the volunteers that day. In cases like Verona Fights Hunger, when we've got 120 bags, we did have a Monday night where we put out a call, anyone available, please come and help sort from 6:30 to
Yeah.
8:30. And again, absolutely no problem having people
Verona's
come
great
and
like
sort.
that,
So
yeah.
yeah, and even the day of operation when we're opening, the pantry is about 8 steps down. It is not accessible, and so we do offer our volunteers to help the shoppers either carry bags up, get things up and
Oh,
down
that's
like that.
important.
So the volunteers are doing a lot of different things. They're also running in the back to get more items if we don't have enough things out and things like that. So it's a great community feeling on that Saturdays when we're open. So.
Now, what do you see for, say, the future of this? I mean, do you think that you're going to get to a point where, whoa, we can't handle all these people, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what the change that has been happening is when we had 18 people, we had about 4 people arrive before we opened. This past month in September, again, we served 42 people. 27 of those people arrived before 8:30.
Yeah.
Now, we don't open the doors until 8:30. We actually start allowing shoppers to shop at 9, but we have people come in and get seated. And so as that early morning hour really gets larger, that has become a challenge. And they want to get here, they want to get the items,
Right.
because if you come later, we're probably not going to have laundry
Right,
detergent.
right.
We don't always have enough for everybody. And so that, I think, is issue number one. How do we handle the early morning group that's coming? If we open earlier, folks are just going to come earlier, so that's not a
Yeah.
solution.
Right.
And I think as we grow, the question becomes, can we continue to allow everyone, as opposed to maybe limiting it by town? We haven't made that decision.
Right.
Right now, anyone that comes, regardless of what county they're in, we will provide them with the opportunity to go and fill 2 bags based on what we have available. So I'm not quite sure where that will go. I think right now, our committee's focus is to continue to get the word out in Verona.
Right.
And perhaps Cedar Grove. I see those 2 towns as really our market. There is not an Episcopal church in Cedar Grove.
Okay.
So in my mind, those are the 2 areas we'd like to focus on and make sure anyone that has a need feels comfortable to come and shop in the pantry. That, I think, is our biggest focus right now, and we'll have to manage logistically if and when we get too large what
Right.
happens. So we'll play that as it comes.
So now, wrapping this up, where can people get information, websites, and so forth and so on? Obviously, this brochure is available here in the community center in Verona.
It is.
If they want to help, if they want to donate food, if they want to come on the Saturday, where do they go? Website and...
Sure, yeah, so it's www.holyspiritverona.org. And from that, there'll be a section for food pantry.
Right.
And then we actually list our need items there as well. So
Okay.
if we are low on rice or other items, diapers, baby wipes, we will list that on that website. So at that site, people can find out information to donate money, donate their time, or if they need to be a shopper. In the case of an emergency, we also allow people to come not on a Saturday. They
Right.
just have to either send us an email or call the church, and that phone number is also on that website.
And it's the fourth Saturday?
Fourth Saturday of every
every
month.
month.
Yep, so
Okay.
like Thanksgiving weekend, it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving,
Right.
we will be open.
Okay.
Christmas Eve is the fourth Saturday, we
Okay.
will be open.
Wow, that's fabulous. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Doreen,
it.
it was a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank
See you.
you.
This
Thank
is
you
a
very
fabulous
much.
thing, the Verona Fruit Pantry at Holy Spirit Church in Verona. And we will be right back with our next guest. Welcome back to the Verona Chamber of Commerce Roundtable. I'm Dr. Tom Malanga with my co-host Doreen Arminio. And now we are joined by Eugene of Greenpoint Juicery here in Verona. Thank
Hi,
you for
Tom.
coming.
Hi, Doreen. Thank you for inviting.
Eugene has
My
a very
pleasure.
tough pronouncing last name, so tell it what it is.
It's Onischke, which is
There you
a
go.
Polish
There's no
last name.
shot in the world I was going to do
Onischkiewicz.
that.
I
you know
can
what I'm saying?
say it.
So, okay. So tell us
So-
about yourself, your background. Like, how did you get into this? Where are you from? Education, so forth and so on.
Thank you for this question. So yeah, that's basically the first question everyone asked me in juicery. I've been working in restaurant business for past 6 years, so I got a lot of experience. I started on the kitchen and worked on the floor as well, work as a manager and bartender. So I kind of got into this food business.
In this area, or where was?
No, all in the city. I've
Okay.
been working mostly in Italian restaurant past,
Okay.
so I had to kind of balance it with something.
Yeah.
And I started juicing myself pretty much at the same time. So juicing, making smoothies for myself, and like I always wanted to open a business, but I didn't want to open another like Italian restaurant.
Right,
I'm good at
exactly.
cooking, but I wanted to bring something good for the people, for the
Okay.
community, and not only just doing the business. So, and it just kind of occurred to me naturally. And after that, I started like looking for space, and I found out that in Verona, it's wonderful town, but there is no juiceries here.
Right.
There's 5 in Montclair
Of
and none in
course, right.
Verona.
Right.
So I thought it would be a good thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so why juicing? What made you get into juicing? And,
Personally, what,
personally,
Again, I believe like a lot of people get really have, I'm sorry,
nutrition.
Yeah.
They get
Uh,
tired.
people consume a lot of carbs.
Right.
too
and
much
not
pasta in
enough-
the Italian
too much-
restaurants.
Yeah, and not enough nutrients.
Fast
and
food.
Yeah, and juicing is the easiest and the best way to get your nutrients in. So for myself, I started with some like carrot and apple juice, and gradually made my way to like green juices like that one. And yeah, and what's important when you juice, it's to use organic ingredients for that, because when you grow vegetable conventionally, you use a lot of pesticides, chemicals, and like when you juice, you basically consume even more vegetables that you normally do like in a salad and stuff. So we decided to open a juice store. We decided to go organic, and like everyone was saying me like it's crazy, it would be expensive, no one would appreciate it. Yeah, that was tough at the
Right.
beginning, but we got a lot of following. Yeah, so
You
that's,
you know what it is? A lot of diets will say, okay, 4 to 5 servings of vegetables and 4 to 5 servings of fruit a day. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
People can't eat all of that.
People
so
can eat a lot.
All right, I know they can, but they just don't have the time, and they don't even realize what
tough.
4 to 5 servings of vegetable and fruit is. So in juicing, you could get a lot of that just by drinking.
And nobody wants
So
to
that's-
wash their juicer. They rather just go to you, and you
Right,
make such great
right,
combinations.
Exactly. So tell us
I-
about your product. I'm sorry, were you going to
It's
say
okay.
something else?
Well, no, just about Verona accepting this this whole juicing, and
Oh, yeah.
and have you received a
How
lot
long
of
have you
really
been
good-
here?
a little bit more than a year,
Okay.
year and 2 months. Doreen knows me very well. She's been a regular customer for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
If you ever need an advertisement for it, she looks good, right? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and you mentioned that people do need to consume a lot of
Like
vegetables.
servings every
Yeah,
day.
basically, yeah. In a bottle of juice, you get like pretty much like 1 to 2 pounds of produce right in the bottle, which you can consume easily. in
Let's
few
take a
minutes.
look at some of these products now. What do you have here right in front of us here?
Yeah, so here I brought some samples. That's our carrot juice made with apple, celery, lemon, and ginger. It's a good, great combination.
Can I open this and try it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
Woohoo!
Okay.
Has a lot of vitamin
let's see, wait
A
a
in
minute.
it, a lot of
Do you have to
carotenoids.
shake
Carrot,
them? Do you have to shake
apple,
them?
celery,
I actually shook them a
lemon,
little bit
Okay.
already. Yeah.
ginger,
But you recommend
Okay.
shaking it before you.
Try it.
raw and unpasteurized. Okay.
Freshly squeezed juice right in the
That's
bottle.
damn good. I could definitely taste the ginger. Wow.
Yeah, and it's not only taste good, it's also really good for your ginger. It's
Now,
great
how many?
for
How many?
digestion.
Do you know how many calories when you say something like this?
Green juice would be would go from
90.
like 90 calories to like things like cashew milk would have like 150 calories per serving. So which is not a lot.
I
And
know lemon is very cleansing. Ginger's great for the digestive system,
Yep.
for if you have a
And
stomach
a
ache.
serving is probably 8
half-
ounces.
half about it,
Half
yeah.
of that.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Now this one looks
Yum.
tough. Okay, because the color is not great. Kale, apple, parsley, celery, lemon, and
But
ginger.
the apple's probably going to give it a little sweetness, right?
yeah, absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people into.
To like it.
Joe, you remember that movie Soylent Green with Charlton Heston, right? That's what this reminds me of. That's pretty damn good. Man, that's really good.
So also it makes us different from other juicers.
So good.
We
Right.
offer samples. So in our store,
Tastes like Verona Park.
yeah, if you kind of
Okay.
if you're kind of afraid you see green juice, you
Yeah.
kind of not feeling like trying it.
I love
You
it.
can always try it. Come in the store. We have samples available for all our juices, so you can try everything before buying it or without buying it. So just like for you to get an idea, to get this experience. Yeah, and besides juice, we also have our nut milks.
We were going
which
to say,
is
yeah, do you have,
good
you
source of
offer
protein.
something
Yeah,
else?
what else do you have
Okay.
besides
Yep,
juices?
yep. Plus, we make all these desserts and snacks.
So these
all
desserts,
vegan,
they're,
gluten-free.
they're all vegan now. They're gluten-free, vegan.
Everything is in our store is vegan, except in some recipes we use honey. So honey is the
That's
only
right.
exception we make. Besides that, it's all
Yeah.
vegan.
Now, this one I want to try because it's a protein milk that has raw cashew, strawberry, goji, is that what that means? Says?
Goji
berry.
Berry, dates, rice protein, Himalayan salt, and filtered water. So this is obviously good for protein, I guess, you
For
know.
proteins and not only goji berries.
But isn't that something about vegetarians, they don't get enough protein? Is that,
It's
no, I'm
not,
just
there's-
saying, it's a,
Well,
it's
there's
a thing.
protein in everything.
I
you know?
understand, I
Unless
know.
you're like trying to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you don't need that
Oh,
much
that's
protein.
good. Oh, that's good. See, I can make a meal out of these things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? You have any, like, you have like a eggplant and zucchini or something
Oh,
like that?
fantastic.
Actually,
This is really good.
Yeah, come on.
it's good that you
Little
mentioned
broccoli
it.
rabe, you know what I'm saying?
A broccoli raw flavor.
It's good that you mentioned it because we just started making salads as well in the
Right.
store and
Okay.
dressings for the salads as well. So it's also all vegan with great flavors. We got vegan ranch, we had honey mustard and lemon dressing for now for the salads, and we also want to do zucchini spaghetti with like
Okay.
sauces like
I've been
pesto.
doing that, yeah.
Yeah.
No, because I mean, broccoli rabe juice is good, so don't get the broccoli rabe in your teeth. You know what I'm saying? It's much easier. Now, you are certified as a sustainable business. Can you explain that to me? I don't understand some of these terms, sustainable. In fact, Verona is trying to be sustainable. I guess it's
Yeah, explain
recycling.
sustainable.
Yes,
Let's
what is
hear
that?
about what it
Yeah,
takes.
for me, like when we started business, for me there was another important issue, like what I wanted to focus on. It's not only doing a business something for the people, also for the environment as
Right.
well. It's important for me. I recycle myself everything I can, and I want to do the same in juicery. So we recycle basically 99% of our waste, and we also participate in a compost program with Morgan's Farm.
Okay.
It's a local farm in Verona.
Right.
And because of that, we got invited to Sustainable Verona
Yes.
committee, and they certified it as the first sustainable business in town.
Wow.
Yay.
Cool. That's really good, because I saw the sign outside about the sustainable Verona.
What does
Wasn't
one
sure.
have to do to be sustainable business?
Basically, there is a variety of things you can do, starting off like shutting the lights off when you leave and turn off the computers. And I mean, we do a little bit more than that. We also use compostable packaging.
Okay.
Okay.
We also recycle everything we can, even the plastic bags. Like, we work with Steve in town actually
Right.
to get it recycled in the
Right.
town as well. Yeah, composting is another big thing. We produce like around 70, 80 gallons of compost a week.
Wow.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and we save town, actually, we did the calculation, we save town more than $1,000 a year.
Wow.
Good for
Is that
you.
that's I never
Everybody
knew
should
that.
be doing that.
I never
So
knew
much
that.
food.
Okay.
So now you guys are doing really great. There's always people in your store. What are your future plans?
First of all, we want to grow our business in town, and we want to expand too. So we're really looking for to open another location. Right now we're considering either Montclair or Maplewood is another
Okay.
option. Yeah.
And it seems like you want to get into serving more food also.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We want to give more variety
Right.
to more people.
Okay.
And basically, by doing that, we not only bring something good for the people, also doing good for environment. Yeah, and trying to reach as many people as possible. Recently, we got certified as a kosher institution as well.
Okay.
So now the group of folks can join
Right.
us.
Exactly. Now, your hours of operation, your address, a website.
Mm-hmm.
Look into that camera and give that information.
Absolutely. So we open 7 days a week. On the weekdays, it's 8 o'clock till 7 p.m. And Saturday, it's 9 till 6. Sunday, 10 till 6.
10 to 6. And
Yep.
your address is?
532 Bloomfield Avenue. We're right across the street from Verona Park.
Right.
We don't have a website yet. We're working on it currently. Facebook and Instagram is GP Juicery. Follow us, like us, and please visit our store. Thank you.
I will promise I will be in this week. So, anything else?
Well, the desserts are great. I'm eyeballing. Are those the chocolate peanut butter balls over there?
Yep.
Those are fantastic.
They're
I'm
right here.
regularly-
She only does the show for free samples, I swear, you know what I'm saying?
Notice how
Right,
excited I get
right.
when there's
I
food
know.
people. These are really good, and the key lime pie, Joe, is really, you
Really?
have to try the key lime pie. It's fantastic.
Great. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Doreen, for
Wasn't that bad, right?
Pleasure. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
And we'll be right back with our closing segment. Thank you. Welcome back to the Verona Chamber of Commerce Roundtable. I'm Dr. Tom Malanga with my co-host Doreen Arminio. That was a fabulous show that we had today.
great.
3 fabulous guests. And if anyone is interested in being a guest, go to veronachamber.org. There's an application on there you can fill out to join the chamber. And being on the show is part of, your membership package, so to speak. Also, the TV show is shown on the Verona TV station. It's probably shown for 30 days, probably 30 or 40 times, during the month. And each month we will film a new one. So the next one we'll film will be in November. So if you're interested in being a guest on the show, if you're interested in more information about the chamber, again, go to veronachamber.org. And the new segment will be up on the website, and you can see all the things that, the chamber offers.
Is
So-
there scheduling, or is it just a random showing? I never know when it's.
You know what? I'm trying to get something from the town to give me the TV schedule. They keep saying it's on, I can't find it on the website, but if there is a schedule, then we will put that on the website. Okay? So for myself, Dr. Tom Malanga, and Doreen Arminio, we will see you next time on the Verona Chamber of Commerce Roundtable.
When you come to Verona, you are finally coming home. When you come to Verona, it's a place to call your own, and you learn what it means to be a family. When you come to Verona. come to Verona. You are finally coming home when you come to Verona. It's a place to call your own when you come to Verona. You're finally coming home and you learn what it means to be a family. When you come to Verona.